How big do you think it is?
Big. It's going to be a mine. It's going to create the careers of a lot of good geologists. I think that this is a big part of Thunder Bay going forward.
Do you ever wonder what lies beneath the surface? Not your couch cushions. I'm talking about Earth's untapped treasures. Welcome to EarthLabs Expeditions, where I dig deep into the world of junior mining exploration. Grab your hard hats, folks, because this isn't your average treasure hunt. I'm Jonathan Brazo, a mechanical engineer, firefighter, avid world traveler, and a rookie junior mining investor. And full disclosure, I know next to nothing about mining. But that's the fun part. Join me as I travel the world learning the ropes of the exploration and mining industries. Together, we'll decode the secrets of the earth and reveal the potential fortunes hidden beneath our feet. So, if you're ready for a wild ride through the highs and lows of junior mining, buckle up. This is EarthLabs Expeditions. Our flight takes us over the Great Lakes, specifically Lake Huron and Lake Superior. Over the course of Canada and the United States history, these massive freshwater inland seas have defined the culture and the economy of the region.
Welcome to Thunder Bay. This is where we start our next adventure. We're in northern Ontario, northwest Ontario, and right behind me is the Kaministiquia River. This is Kakabeka Falls, which is, as the locals call it, the Niagara Falls of the North. So Kakabeka Falls, and it is a beautiful, massive waterfall, is on the Kaministiquia River, which is very tightly tied to the history of Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay's status as the shipping hub of northwestern Ontario has gone through a lot of changes over the years, from its early prominence with its connection to Lake Superior and the St. Lawrence Seaway, to the connection to the west with the Canadian Pacific Railroad, throughout the war effort, and then eventually when the Trans-Canada Highway reached Thunder Bay, we see a major shift in how the goods are transported, and the primary method becomes by truck, because the Trans-Canada Highway is so accessible to Toronto and Ottawa, Montreal, etc., to the east of Canada. So today, Thunder Bay sits in a place where it's looking to reinvent itself, and projects like Goldshore can help Thunder Bay to usher in a new area of growth and prosperity. Come on, check it out.
As we depart Thunder Bay and head west, we quickly enter the landscape for which Northern Ontario is known. It is rugged and raw. A seemingly endless forest covers the terrain, breaking only when confronted with the countless lakes and rock formations that scatter the countryside. And it is clear to see why this region is a geologist's dream. As we arrive at the site office of Goldshore Resources at the Kashabawi Lodge, we are greeted by CEO Michael Henrichsen and VP of Exploration, Pete Flindell.
Hey guys!
Hey, how's it going?
I'm Jonathan, nice to meet you.
Yeah, Michael, good to meet you too.
Michael, good to meet you.
Hey, I'm Pete. Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you. What a nice spot you guys got here.
It's home.
This might be the nicest field office in Korshak I've ever seen.
It is the best.
Yeah.
Pretty slick operation for sure.
Yeah, you're right on a beautiful lake. How'd you pull that one off?
Well, it was the most effective way to set up.
Okay.
Rather than building out on site, we had a home made for us.
That's amazing. Well, I see you got a lot of cores here, a lot of facilities. Why don't you show us around?
Sure.
Okay. Let's go check out the core shack. Is there anything we can tell by looking at this core right now that might suggest whether it has gold in it or not?
So for this deposit, we're really looking for where we're getting pyrite and other sulfides dropping out in the structures. Alteration's great. It's showing that the system is not in equilibrium. It's always a good thing for dropping out gold. We can't point to exactly where it would be, but generally where we get increasing pyrite in the rock is where we get the goods.
I mean, this is ultimately the product, right, of what we do.
Yeah.
And so this is where the confidence comes in. And this is where, you know, for us as a group of scientists, we can always come back to here. This is the truth of the matter, right? So this is the foundation of everything we do. So it's kind of like with reverence that geos handle core, right? I mean, this is what we do. And this is how we say, okay, it's 6 million ounces. This is how we, you know, we do it, right? And when you're taking a look at maybe 300,000 meters of drilling into this thing, that's 300 kilometers. I mean, okay. So you can tell we're going to have a pretty good handle on it. You know, when it gets treated properly and we do the right work on it, that gives us the confidence to tell people, hey, look, you know, we understand the system. We know what we're looking at. We can convert that into a resource, can move on to an economic study, but the foundation is we're sitting at it. We're standing right here.
Right. I mean, so much information you can gather from this, you know, 2-inch diameter piece of rock.
A lot.
And then I can appreciate that when you drill, what, 280,000 meters total, that you can get a pretty high resolution idea of what's going on underneath, right?
That's right.
Well, ultimately, it started its life as a boring, sort of intrusive rock with, you know, that had nothing in it of consequence. What ends up happening is way back in the day, you have a mountain building event, right? And it's all being eroded now.
Tectonic event.
Big tectonic event. You're building big mountains. When that happens, there's a style of gold deposits called orogenic gold. Orogenic means mountain building, right? And as you do that, you're doing this at considerable depth. You're liberating water through elevated temperature and pressure. That hydrothermal
Where's
fluid.
Where's water come from?
Dewatering of minerals. So that
deep down beneath the mountain building event?
Yeah, within the rock, the temperatures are so high, the pressures are so high that you actually start to dewater minerals, okay?
Yeah.
And that water is liberated in structure. You know how Pete's talking about structure. Those fluids get focused up structure.
And they got to find their way.
And they're going to find their way through porosity and permeability channels as mountains are being made. You know, structures are active. You're creating breaks in the rock. The hydrothermal fluid migrates through it.
Yeah.
And as Pete said, it's not in equilibrium, and all of a sudden you're dumping gold out of the system. So that's a bit of a long-winded answer, but at the end of the day, you know, this is the type of gold deposit globally. Orogenic gold deposits contain by far the most gold globally.
Anyone home? Well, there he is. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Jason. Nice to meet you.
Jason, nice to meet you. Are you the owner-operator of this shack or what?
I'm the exploration manager here at our lovely core shack.
So I just was talking outside with Michael and Pete, and we went through sort of the process of the drillers drilling the core, pulling it out, and getting it out in here into the core shack. At some point, you have to get this core out to a lab.
Yes, all the core gets sent out to a lab in Thunder Bay. However, before we do that, one of the key things we do is we go and take photographs of it so we can preserve what the core was originally like before we start cutting it in half. And then the second thing that we'll do over there is what's called a bulk density test, and that's just determining the density of the rock. Is as much as we can find out where the rock is in the ground, you don't know how much of it is until you know how much it actually weighs.
Once we're finished the bulk density test, is it ready to send to the lab?
Nope. So we only send half the core to the lab. So we'll send it over into the room adjacent to this one, which is the core cutting facility, where they will cut it in half with a diamond saw. Before it goes there, the geologist will mark out which sections to sample to make sure the geologists are logging correctly and they know what's been called stuff in the past. You can go and pull the core off, walk over to the bench.
That's awesome. It's like a little cheat sheet.
Just don't drop it.
Some of these are bigger. Were you guys using larger diameter holes at one point?
When we started, we were using HQ, so different core sizes: AQ, BQ, NQ, HQ, PQ.
So they use letters instead of just putting the inches?
Yes, and then their letters don't follow any sort of understandable sequence. They go A, B, N, H, P.
It's not confusing at all. The half that goes to the lab, it doesn't remain in this state, right? Is it ground up, or can they analyze it, you know, as a whole?
We send the full half-cut core, so it will look exactly as it looks in these boxes. When it gets to the lab, they crush it, they pulverize it, So by crushing, they grind it into a bit of a gravel, and then by pulverize, they grind it into a dust. And then the dust is what they'll work with to determine how much gold it is in there. So
To make sure it's not like this 30 grams, it's a 30, that's a equal representation of the whole chunk.
exactly.
You're a geologist, we're looking for gold. Why gold?
You got to go for the challenge. Everything else, your nickel, your lithium, copper, it's easy to see. You're going through the field, you can pick it up and you know you found something. This, with the gold, it's all about the identification minerals, the alteration, the structures. Especially in deposits like this, you never really get to see it, you never get to know what's there, and you just got to trust your instincts, you got to trust yourself that you're looking for the right thing. And yeah, just a great feeling when you see the results come in, that you've actually found something new, and really encouraging and really satisfying.
So you like to work for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to have the challenge. Got to push yourself.
From Kashabawi Lodge, we take a quick drive down the Trans-Canada Highway and turn onto what just might be the nicest dirt road in Northern Ontario. All in, the journey is less than half an hour, and we arrive at the site, a clearly massive project, to meet with the team. We're joined again by Michael Henrichsen to learn about his history and the history of Goldshore.
Yeah, well, it was kind of by accident in some ways that I became a geologist. I was a climbing bum, hanging off rocks constantly, and I was sort of studying to be a mountain guide, and then university kind of crept into my mind, and I decided, well, I might as well study what I'm hanging off of, understand it a little bit better, with absolutely no concept of what a career might look like.
Yeah.
And got my degree, and then kind of fortuitously found out that you could have a pretty awesome career doing mineral exploration. And so
you've always liked being out here and in the wilderness and exploring?
Yeah, I think you're born to exploration as a mindset almost, and certainly have that. And the career's been beautiful. I've got to travel the world. I've probably worked in 40 some odd countries and all sorts of different geographic regions and different cultures and people, and it's just been a great odyssey, a journey that I couldn't even have imagined when I started.
You brought us to a pretty special place on the Goldshore project.
Yeah.
What are we standing on right now?
Well, it's revered ground. It's the place where it was actually discovered originally back in the 80s. So a lot of these projects have sort of histories that can be decades long. And originally, I think it was the mid-80s that this first got drilled because of this outcrop right here. And, it takes a long time. Gold price back then wasn't great. Maybe it wasn't economic at that time. It wasn't as big. And you have to have all these companies come through to sort of get the project to the point where it's at today, where all of a sudden, maybe it's the fifth company that comes in and makes it all happen. Actually, that's pretty typical. It's usually the fifth or sixth company on a project that delivers the mine.
Thanks so much, and let's meet up back at the lodge and head out for a fish later.
Sounds great.
All right. Standing up there on that hill, knowing that little clue was the indication to geologists in the 70s that there could be gold here, really got me thinking, what if we can find our own gold? As always, when doing dangerous work, safety first. I don't know what rocks with gold in them are supposed to look like. Let's have a look. I can't tell if there's gold in there. But I know another way to find out. Is that what gold tastes like? Is that what gold tastes like? Is that what gold tastes like? Hello? Gold? Are you in here? It's gotta be under here. Still didn't find any. Where do you find gold? I better go back and ask for some help.
That's what gold tastes like.
All right, I'm here with Chris Perruse. He's the president of CSL Environmental. Chris, tell us about what you're doing here and what your relationship is with Goldshore.
Sure. We're an engineering firm that developed in 2019. I've been around for 5 years. We're very focused in mining as a corporation, whether it's engineering, environmental, the field staff. We feel like our team's built for this type of environment. Yeah. And our teams work very well together.
So what do you see for the future of this project as it gets developed and as we look towards, final permitting and an eventual mine?
From a development standpoint and a permitting standpoint, water management is going to be key. That's the single biggest hurdle this mine is going to go through in its development, is managing water. There's a ton of it out there. Yeah. There's also a ton of gold out there, and we got to figure out the best way to separate the two for now. They'll eventually come back in closure, but for now we got to move the water out of the way. And we need to understand how that fits in the natural environment.
Is there a feasible path forward to address the challenges like this water that has to be diverted?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's engineering solutions. We're actively engaged in them. The data we've been collecting for the last several years is pivotal to that understanding. Yeah. And that's where it's all coming together now with that understanding of all these rivers and creeks. And there are a few other elements that the team is committed to looking at this winter to sort of put the last few pieces of the puzzle together. So that there is a path forward with that. You can engineer the solution, we can figure it out for sure.
Tell us about some of the other projects that you've worked on in the area.
Yeah, our team has been partnered with Impala Canada, previously North American Palladium, and we've been working with them for the past 5 years on a number of permitting projects and environmental projects. As well as other mines, such as we worked at Musselwhite for engineering and environmental. We worked at Hart Gold. Greenstone Gold Mines were part of a river diversion project there. So we're very, very diversified in mining in northwestern Ontario, and we understand this terrain.
So this is nothing you haven't seen before?
No, this is nothing new to us.
And you believe that this project and the so-called challenges are something that's completely overcomable, and in fact, something that you've done in the past?
100%.
All right, thank you, Chris, so much. Really appreciate you coming out here and putting up with these bugs to have a chat with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Cheers.
I want to learn all about Pete and how we ended up here.
When I was very young, I loved nature. I was always running about, catching snakes. Almost became a snake catcher for a profession. But I love rocks, and I did my degree, and I loved my degree. I really enjoyed geology, and first job out of school was in Indonesia, basically off a boat, sampling the islands east of Bali. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
So, and I got the bug from there. There's this point between exploration geologist and mining engineer that is a gap in our industry, and I enjoy being in that gap. Okay. And so I've worked on 9 projects previously. This is my 10th, taking it through feasibility to production.
Okay, so this isn't your first rodeo?
Not at all.
We're standing now amongst many racks of core. What are we looking at here?
This is a lot of the historical core that was drilled mostly in the 80s and a little bit in the 90s. We are very slowly recovering the core with a view to relog, and we are resurveying the collar positions, and we will go back down the holes and do downhole surveys. So essentially we make an historical hole as good as our current drilling. But they haven't been logged to our standard, and they haven't necessarily been completely sampled.
Okay, so we're going to apply the new methods and all the things that you guys are doing. We saw your very strict quality control and thorough process. All these cores are going to be subject to that same process.
Exactly.
Okay. That brings all of our information up to date on all the drilling, the roughly 280,000 meters that have been done to date on the property.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so what's next?
Well, a lot of drilling. We know that we need to firm up the resource we have, and we know areas where we can hopefully, probably, expand the resource. For the last 3 years, our focus has been on satisfying ourselves that there is an economic project here, starting the ball rolling on all of the work programs that need to happen for that project to go ahead. Now we have the luxury to stand back and look. We understand where the gold is, why it's there, and we have some ideas of where we're going to find more.
Okay. Okay, so then all of this information, all this drilling, these cores, this geochemistry, you're going to feed it into a model, right? A 3D model?
Yes.
And then how do we use that model in the future?
Well, as geologists, we can create a model that is essentially a set of constraints to steer the direction in which we interpolate the gold grades. That creates a model that we use for a mine plan. We look to see how we can most effectively mine this.
Yeah.
Can we stage it? Is there a smaller, lower capex project to start with? How big does it get? What point in time do we get there? How big do we make it?
Yeah.
We need to answer all of those questions.
Okay. You chose to be here. You relocated here. You moved your family to Thunder Bay.
I did.
So there must be something really special about this project.
It's going to be a mine. The deposit is at surface. It's big, it's long, it's wide, it's deep. It's got the critical grade to get it there. We're just off the highway, the Trans-Canada Highway. We have hydropower very close to us, and it's an hour out of Thunder Bay.
How big do you think it is?
Big.
I love it. Thanks a lot, Pete. It's been great meeting with you again. Good to see you out here in your natural habitat. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers. Let's go and have a beer.
Let's do it.
Exhausted and bug-bitten from a long day of exploration in the field, we head back to Kashabawi for a little R&R, and maybe a cold one or two. Tomorrow is going to be a big day. Michael and I have a little friendly wager to settle. We'll get this sorted before we get back to shop talk.
Or nil. Time to get serious. Yeah, so Michael wasn't that good, and I was out here smashing him, won 2 games straight, and I think he needs to go to the gym and learn to play pickleball a little better. Ah! Oh, you cannot be serious! Just kidding. I'm really at pickleball.
Well, that didn't go so great. I hatch a plan to head out on the lake and see if I can't even up the score, trading our rackets for fishing poles. Not one to shy away from a challenge, Michael accepts, and Leo and Dave from Kashabawi Lodge make it happen. They take us out to their secret spot.
All right, Mike. First of all, I want to thank you and the whole Goldshore team for having us out. You guys have an incredible team, an incredible asset, and you guys are taking all the steps, sooner than you have to and going above and beyond. That's the overwhelming theme that I get from this trip. So I want to thank you for having us out. I want to thank you for kicking my ass in pickleball. So
well,
I thought we'd...
Pleasure. The whole thing's been a pleasure, but that was a pleasure.
Not just like a little either. No. 11-1, 11-1.
It was good.
It was a trouncing. So I thought we'd get out here to something that's a little more my style and see if we can catch some fish and have a chat about what's next for Goldshore, what the big picture is, and what the future holds.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, it's been great to have you guys here for a starting point. But yeah, I think when we look at the big picture, we always start with the foundation, which is the asset itself, right? Yep. There are kind of 3 things that a junior mining company needs. It's got to have the foundation as the asset, and of that we're all convinced, as a group of people who work on it daily. I think after that, a strategic investor is like the next thing you got to have. I mean, that just sort of separates you financially in terms of your financial capabilities from everybody else, which will actually allow you to move your asset forward.
And Goldshore has a strategic investor.
We certainly do. Yeah. We've got Brian Paes-Braga and a group from SAF that's invested into us, and that's just been a turnaround for the company, quite truthfully. Well, hang on here.
Oh, you got fish on?
Oh, I think there's fish on, by the looks of it.
You got one?
I think so. A little one.
Bring it in. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Taking the early lead.
Maybe not as good as my pickleball. Oh, yeah.
What do you got?
What do you?
Oh, nice smalley. Do you want to take it off?
Yeah, you can do it.
I can do it for you?
Yeah, you can do it.
All right.
You're the professional.
You can grab them like
fisherman
this,
here.
but if they get squirmy, they do have like spikes
Yeah.
on their fins. But a bass is nice because you can just put your hand right in their mouth.
Yeah.
And they don't have teeth to bite you. And then you just plug it out. That's a nice fish.
Not bad for a rookie.
Fish number one.
Fish number one. Let's toss that back.
And then
out
just
there.
pop them back in. Okay, 1-0. 1-0.
That's the nomenclature, nil.
1-0. It's nil for everything. So, all right, where were we? You and the team are from everything we've heard and everything we've learned, there is the gold and there's all the makings of a mine and future exploration, future promise.
Yeah.
It's blue skies.
Yeah, there's blue skies, and at the same time, like the second pillar that that I like to consider that we have to do to show investors that we're going somewhere are those economic studies, right? You got to tell your investors what kind of return can you expect here. Like,
Yeah.
is this a money maker or not? And so, we're putting the Moss deposit through its first economic study with G Mining right now, recognized as one of the best in the business. They did the feasibility study on the Greenstone mine. They know what they're doing, and, we're going to prove that this thing is going to make money.
Yeah.
And then our job is to keep advancing it through like the preliminary economic analysis through to...
Oh, hold on, fish on.
Nice.
Oh, I think it's a nice one.
Well, after all that pickleball.
You got to let me have something. That's a nice looking bass.
You got it? You need a hand or you good?
Oh, I got him. Oh, boy.
That is a nice one.
That's a nice one. All right. Yeah, very
Pounds
nice
you got
fish.
there? What do you think of that is?
How many pounds?
Yeah.
That's maybe a 2-pounder.
Yeah, nice.
2.5 at best. Tie game.
I think he's winning. Yeah, obviously you get through the first economic study of the PEA, right?
Yep.
And then you got to start thinking about moving it to pre-feasibility. And that's where sort of the rubber hits the road, and that's where we're trying to get to quickly. We feel that we can get there quickly and really make this deposit something that can be permitted and something that can turn into a mine, right?
Right.
So that's the strategy, is just move through as, at a good clip, a good pace, get through the studies, do the work, show the value, show the investment thesis to everybody, and really, this could be one of the next big mines in Canada, next big gold mines in Canada at the end of the day.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, super exciting.
That's super exciting. There's a stewardship
Yeah,
that goes along with that, right?
That's
To
really
the
the third
community. Okay, that's the third
that's
pillar.
the third pillar.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. All right.
That's it, right? There's three things that we need to concentrate on, and we're touching on, one that's equally important to the others. You can't just force a mine into production.
Yeah.
That's something that you build together in partnership with people.
Yeah.
That's how it actually happens at the end of the day. So, I just was very fortunate to come into a situation where this project, since its inception in Goldshore in 2021, that was at the forefront of the thinking. Let's
Yeah.
be sure that we're communicating well with our stakeholders, with our communities. Let's engage with them. And that allows us to, everybody's getting to know each other over time.
Yeah.
As the project's growing, the relationship's growing.
Yeah.
I think that's key. You can't just like spring here's the economics and it's so great and let's go right now. It's not going to work. You have to do that communication and build that partnership together.
Everyone benefits.
Well, that's the goal here. I think it could be a huge impact on Thunder Bay, the region of Thunder Bay in general. It's great to have the Greenstone mine come online, and imagine if we can repeat that right here.
Yeah.
At Goldshore at the Moss deposit. That would be amazing.
Then you're talking districts.
And we're talking district, and we're talking a mining hub in northern Ontario, really. Thunder
Yeah.
Bay sort of cements itself as this is a mining hub. These are big deposits
And
up
super
here.
strategically located.
Couldn't
right?
be better.
The gold's all not going to get used in Thunder Bay.
No.
But you got, the Trans-Canada Highway. You've got the shipping lanes out through the Great Lakes. You've got the rail tracks running right through the city.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
For me, the infrastructure of this project is what I mean, it was such a selling feature for me to come on board. When have I been beside the Trans-Canada Highway and there's a massive gold deposit with power right there? I mean, that's just hard to beat.
And close, and with a great road already built out to the property. Like,
yeah, amazing.
It's quite advanced.
This is an easy one, right? I mean, there's harder
I don't know
ones,
if your job's easy.
I don't know that it's easy either, but like the position of the deposit is as good as it could be, right?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this.
Hold on, fish on.
Ooh, that's a discovery right
Fish
there.
on. What do we got? Whoa, it's not a big one, but it's 2-1. Hey, finally in the lead.
Yeah. Deservedly so.
I haven't felt this since before we played pickleball. Okay.
Yeah, really nice.
He's nice.
Yeah.
You want to kiss it?
No, you can do that.
Oh,
it's your
hey,
fish.
buddy.
There you go.
All right, you're free, buddy. Well, what were we at? You know, under your leadership and the leadership pass with the team that you have, you and the Goldshore team are really putting it together here, and it seems like you're doing all the right steps.
Yeah, we're certainly trying to. I think, one of the mantras that I have as the CEO is to do what we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
When we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that builds a lot of trust, and trust with investors, trust with stakeholders. To me, that's super important. Like, don't overpromise. Do what you can do, right? And then that sets credibility and trust with everybody. So that's what we're going to do here. That's how we're going to proceed. We're going to do it the right way. Give the right guidance, and ultimately we do get to wave our arms a bit with the blue sky, which is fun, okay, could it be 50?
If you didn't think there was more, it wouldn't be exciting.
It wouldn't be exciting.
Yeah.
And that was a huge part of it for me too, new discovery. Like, not only is it what we have already enough, but there's the chance for something radically different.
Yeah.
And that to me is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Well, I got to say, from meeting you and getting to know you, the fact that you're committed to doing what you say and, keeping a straight and narrow, being transparent, that really reflects to me who you are as a person. You're a cool guy, man. I'll just say it. It's been great to get to know you and become your friend. I think
likewise.
You're best of the best, and everything you're doing reflects that.
Well, it's a great group of people at the end of the day, right? Like, that's what it's all about. It's the whole team.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm just fortunate to have come into an amazing team, and hopefully I've slotted in pretty well. But yeah, real pleasure to.
Seems like
to
they
work
like
here.
you a lot.
Yeah. Well, I like them too, so it's all good.
Yeah. Well, Michael, this has been amazing, and we wish you all the success in the future. I have no doubt that Goldshore is going to continue to grow and continue to be beneficial for the area and for Thunder Bay, and that you guys are going to have great success moving forward.
Yeah, I appreciate those sentiments for sure. And, well, we got to get to work and do them now.
Yeah, time to go.
Time to go.
All right.
All right.
It's one thing to read about these projects and read the investor deck and see all the key points of what's going on. But to see it in person and see the scale of the project and all the steps that go into it, from initial exploration to drilling to quality control and logging and sampling and assaying, the team at Goldshore is doing it all right. The Moss project is huge. It's just off the Trans-Canada Highway. There's access to a major power line just kilometers away, access to a major railroad, and access to shipping lanes via the Great Lakes through the St. Lawrence Seaway. Just add to all of the reasons why Goldshore is a compelling project. On top of that, the team is doing everything right. They're taking all the steps necessary to permit this thing, reduce their environmental footprint, engage with the community, and make sure that when it comes time to permit this and turn it into an actual mine, they'll be ready to go. We're here in a small village of Silver Islet, and just off the coast, across the bay, is one of the largest ever operating silver mines in the history of Canada and close to the history of the world. Thunder Bay and the surrounding area has a history of mining. This has been done and can be done again. Everything about this project screams this will become a mine someday.